You're listening to the Teachers of Tomorrow Smith podcast. My name is Rashmi Sharma, founder of Tomorrow Smith Foundation and your host for the day. Today we have with us a very special guest, Mrs. Lakshmi Kumar. She's the director of Pradnya Niketan Education Society and the founder director of the Orchid School in Pune. Hi Lakshmi ma'am, it's so nice to have you here. Welcome to our podcast. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, and thank you. Thank you for this opportunity, especially when you mentioned about this would be used for the aspiring teachers, and I felt like, yes.
Yeah, I'm so excited, and there's so much to learn from you. But just to start with, can you share with us what your educational philosophy is and how that has shaped the way you do the work at Orchid School and in all other avatars that you have?
I mean, I don't know if I really have anything extraordinary in terms of the philosophical this, but I think the drive is on the five basics. One is the relationship. I don't think you learn anything without it being kind of layered with the essence of relationship, which is non-threatening and nurturing. The second one is some kind of trust between the learner and the teacher, or between the teacher and the taught. And the trust is not about a mere word, but trusting that every student has innate potential, trusting that there is an evolutionary process that is waiting to unfold, trusting that the pure intent will help trigger this evolutionary process, and trusting the student and the teacher's capabilities for this transaction. So we're talking about a trust at the varied levels. Third one for me, an extremely important aspect is this embedded in the democratic principles of equity and access and inclusion. Interestingly, schools are supposed to teach democracy. Schools are supposed to embody principles of democracy, but a lot of time we experience schools are the least democratic space. It's not at the fault of anyone or assigning blame on anyone. Just the sheer nature of that the child almost comes with everything pre-decided. That merely the student has very little voice on what to learn, when to learn, how to learn, who to learn from, what's the course material, and should I have the math in the morning, should I have the when to eat lunch. It's almost everything is predetermined. And even before that, it's a parent who decide which school should the child go to, and and we decide who is going to be your teacher. So how do you then expect a child to have developed and experience and demonstrate principles of democracy? So we need to be very, very conscious of, is our institutions built on the principles of democracy? And the fourth one is for me respect. That's a very, very important philosophical underpinning. And when I say respect, it again encompasses respect for living, non-living, respect for different kind of people and abilities, respect for all subjects without assigning preconceived hierarchies that math is more important than the art kind of, so it's the most encompassing respect. So I think these are some of the core philosophical underpinnings that I would operate with any school systems.
This is brilliant. I mean, the four pillars really, as you just shared about, there's no teaching, learning without relationship, respect, trust, and democratic, having that student agency there. They should have the voice and choice in what they want to learn. So that's so beautiful. You have been a teacher and an education leader. What has been the most rewarding aspect of you being in all of these roles?
Self-growth. There is not a day you go back not learning. I think an educational ecosystem gives you that kind of a reward. there is never a boredom. There may be stress, there may be challenges, there may be frustrations, but never a boredom. Never ever a feeling that, oh, today was a wasted day. There is just always something that you go back with.
Yeah, and so many unique individuals. There is no chance you'll be bored. So very rightly said.
I often say that we hold 1,200 umbilical cords, 1,200 students, because each one's origin, the parents are trusting us and expecting us to shape and support children. So it's not a joke.
Yeah,
it's an absolute serious business of building future citizenry.
Absolutely. Mrs. Kumar, I was going through what you do, and like I said, I found out that you train teachers on cultural competence. For all the young teachers that we work with, can you throw some light on what it really means and why it is important in the context of India to have this competence, to have the cultural competence?
I think when we look at the classroom, our space, our darbar, very important thing to see is the forest and the tree. Oftentimes, let's say I teach a 7th grade math, we see and we believe that all of them who are sitting in front of me are at the same level of passion, engagement, interest, abilities, competence, and or if there is a learning gap, I think first of all to somewhere at some point of time to pause and say, do I notice my individual students? Do I notice them as the single tree that's part of the collective ecosystem of class forest, as I call it? And when you start doing that, then you start rejoicing their individuality. Then you look at their multiplicity, then you look at their language, their regional background, there is ethnic background, there is probably a class structural differences, and there could be of course a gender variation, especially at the university level. You look at complete level of diversity, including the LGBTQ community, though in school system we believe that it is not there, but I think in the children's head there is a lot happening. So I think it's an important assimilation, that exercise that we need to have. Do I know each child? Do I know what's the context from which the child is coming to school? And to some extent, do I know what's the does it have a sibling? Is the child adopted? And is there a death in the family? Is there a divorce happening? So we're talking about an extraordinary variation of what's happening in their lives. It doesn't have to be an everyday exercise, but at some point of time to pause and say, do I know them?
Yeah,
I think this diversity is very, very crucial and critical, because then you also know when things work and when things don't work. You have an explanation to clarify the behavior and not simplify it by saying this generation doesn't show interest, or that child is always like that. So you doesn't have the attitude of just disposing the child and summarizing it in 1 or 2 words of utter negligence.
Yeah, and so rightly said. I mean, unless we think of every child having that potential, having that capability, and keeping the child in center, like you said, there is no way we can actually be doing justice to our jobs. And some of the ideas that I want from you right now is like, you're doing this every day, and how is it happening in your school? Like some tips that you can give to other school directors who are listening, or even our teachers who are listening. What are some of those things that you do in your school? Some of the exercises, some of the ways in which you integrate multiculturalism, this diversity, this whole child, the child as they exist. So if you could give some of these things that you do, that'll be brilliant.
One of the things that we do meticulously, this exercise of Get to Know Me Week. in the month of June, after the orientation and the school starts, a whole week is dedicated to get to know me. When I say get to know me, I want you as a parent to know me, and I want to know you as a parent. And all the small and the big details, all the significant details, and all your struggles and aspirations. And I think this is a half an hour meeting wherein I kind of have some levels of self-disclosure to show the humane aspect of me, and that you also, I'm curious about you. There is a sense of personal interest in you. So that's one very, very vital, important thing to do. Another one that we do at the end of the year is our counselors have what is called handing over ceremony. So we have something about being a class being ceremoniously handed over from an old teacher to a new teacher, because we are saying these are precious people that I'm handing over to you, and these are some things that you need to kind of keep in mind. And it can become a little bit of a prejudiced exercise, but the whole beauty is in being very conscious of that when I hand over my child to you, I'm symbolically handing over a lamb to you, and also saying that how precious they have been, and that there are children who are really, going through some troubles. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Everybody doesn't have to. And this is facilitated by our counselors. Mm-hmm. And the third one is to view families as potential partners. Just recently, during the lockdown, we called it 3 parent years instead of 3 musketeers. We thought that parents have their competence, they're professionals, they are working, they are great knowledge ecosystems. Why don't we invite every month 3 parent years for this program, class level, and then they share what they think they know or what they are doing. Someone could be a painter, an artist, maybe marine biologist, or maybe working with data analytics, or maybe a chef today in this, or maybe running a cloud kitchen, or a designer, whatever. And if you don't have any of those quote unquote titles, come and read a story. So we call it the parent years every month. And I would say the success is much greater in the primary level because parents are enthusiastic. Parents want to give more. But something happens as the child ages. I think both the children and the parents don't want parents hanging around. So these are some of the initiatives that I thought are very beneficial.
Yeah, I love especially the parent participation part of, you called it the 3 parent years, right? Amazing. That is such an amazing idea to implement in the class, in the school. And I think the other thing that you said about passing the lamp on of this child is such a powerful statement, because of course, like you said, there can be prejudices when a teacher, because we know we are also humans. Teachers are humans, every day they go through their own cycle of emotions. But when you're handing over that lamp, you're also giving the other teacher a chance to bring in their own part to it. Right?
Humanizing the so-called admission number. That's so crucial, because I feel, that unfortunately a lot of our schools are, so large in numbers that imagine a formative years, a child passes through an entire schooling as a number and not as a person.
Yeah.
So I think, how do you humanize that? And I think take a day in a whole year. And also to say that, we don't look at children only from the point of view, their troubles and their problems.
Yeah.
We also want to pass on this lamp in terms of their strengths and, to say that it's a kid who just is extremely enthusiastic about. So it kind of creates a whole balance of the classroom rather than just talking only when something goes wrong.
Absolutely. We are having such a wonderful discussion with Mrs. Lakshmi Kumar, but this conversation is not ending here. We have a lot more to learn from her, so stay tuned for our next episode. Thank you for listening to Teachers of Tomorrow Smith. Like and subscribe to our podcast and share with your fellow educators. See you soon in the next episode.